3 signs. He's married and using you without you realizing. Carl Jung. Have you ever felt that something doesn't fit, but you can't explain what? That uncomfortable feeling that he hides something, but you push away the thought because he seems so sincere, so present, until it disappears without explanation. He only appears at specific times, never on weekends. He says he works too much, that the family is complicated. You believe it. Until small details start to pile up. A forgotten wedding ring, a phone call answered far away from you, photos where you never appear. Jung said that our psyche alerts us through signals that we prefer to ignore. Your unconscious already knows the truth, but your ego rejects it because it hurts too much to accept. And married men who live double lives know every emotional trigger to keep you trapped in this illusion. Today, you'll discover the 3 psychological signs that he's married and is using you, and why his mind insists on not seeing the obvious. What you will learn here can completely change the way you see this relationship. 1. The ghost of weekends. There is a pattern that repeats itself with surgical precision. It is available during the week, but when Friday night arrives, it simply evaporates. Saturday and Sunday are forbidden territory, and any attempt by you to show up on those days is met with elaborate excuses about unavoidable family commitments, urgent work, or that deep tiredness that only allows you to stay at home resting. The weekend is the sacred time of family life. It is when couples go shopping together, have lunch with their in-laws, take children to the park, or simply exist in the domestic routine that does not allow invaders. A married man knows that these 2 days are the riskiest to maintain a parallel relationship. The wife is at home, the children have no school, the neighbors are watching, and any slip can destroy years of carefully constructed lies. So he creates an impassable wall around the weekends. The excuses vary, but the result is always the same. You are alone precisely on the days when real couples take the opportunity to be together. He can say that he needs to take care of his sick mother, that he has a crucial project at work, that his childhood friends get together every Saturday, that he values his alone time to recharge his batteries. The cruelest thing is that these excuses make sense in isolation. We all need time with family. We all have responsibilities. We all deserve moments of solitude. But when you couple this pattern with other strange behaviors, the picture becomes clear. It's not about him needing space. It's about him having another life that you can't witness. And here's the psychological trick that keeps you hooked. It compensates for the absence of the weekend with intensity during the week. Monday, he fills you with affectionate messages. Tuesday night, he shows up with a gift. Wednesday, calls you just to say that she misses you. He knows exactly how to balance the emotional scales so that you don't question why you never wake up together on a Sunday. Your brain looks for patterns that confirm what you want to believe. So you focus on the wonderful Wednesdays and ignore the non-existent Saturdays. You convince yourself that your relationship is special precisely because it doesn't follow conventional rules. But special relationships don't have forbidden days. They have real availability, no business hours with weekends locked down to the life that really matters. 2. The digital life that doesn't exist. His presence in the virtual world is a black hole. There are no photos of you together on social media. He never tags you in anything, and when you post something about being together, he just ignores it as if that post didn't exist. His profile is clean, generic, almost aseptic. No trace of intimacy, no evidence that you are part of his life. He justifies it by saying that he values privacy, that he doesn't like to expose relationships on the internet, that he finds this digital exhibitionism that everyone practices vulgar. You can even philosophize about how the best things in life should be kept just for the 2 of you, away from the invasive eyes of strangers. It sounds romantic, mature, different, but the truth is pragmatic. A married man cannot leave digital evidence. His wife probably follows his every move online. She knows his friends on social media, sees their likes, reads their comments. A single photo of you next to him would be the end of years of deception, so he builds an impenetrable digital fortress. Notice how tightly it controls any online interaction with you. If you comment on something on their profile, they delete it quickly or respond in an extremely neutral way. If you try to send messages at specific times, it takes hours to respond or simply ignores it until it's alone. His cell phone has a password that you never knew, and he never leaves the device unlocked near you. When you take pictures together, he always asks you not to post them. He says that that moment is only yours, that he prefers to keep it in his memory, that he is embarrassed by exposure. But notice, he has no problem with photos in general. He posts images from work, travel, casual moments. The problem is photos with you. Digital life is the mirror of real life. People in genuine relationships integrate their partner naturally into their networks, not in an obsessive or exaggerated way, but with the naturalness of someone who has nothing to hide. You appear in stories, in weekend photos, at check-ins of places you visited together. When it doesn't, it's not about privacy, it's about segregation. You exist in a secret compartment of his life, a compartment that can never leak into the visible world where his wife watches over every published pixel. And while you accept this invisibility as respect for his privacy, he breathes a sigh of relief for another day being able to keep the two lives separate, without them colliding. If you want to understand the real reason a married man gives these 3 signs, and how to protect yourself from being used without even realizing it, watch the JUNG method. The link is pinned in the first comment. 3. The master of perfect excuses. Every time you question something, he has a ready, detailed, and emotionally compelling explanation. They are not vague or hasty excuses. They are complete narratives with a beginning, middle, and end, full of details that make it impossible to doubt. He doesn't just answer your questions, he builds alternative realities so well crafted that you feel guilty for having doubted. Married men who maintain double lives develop a frightening ability to lie with absolute conviction. They don't hesitate, they don't stumble over words, they don't show nervousness. They have repeated those lies so many times to so many people that they have become parallel truths in their minds. When he says he was solving an urgent work problem, he really believes that version while pronouncing it. What confuses you is coherence. His stories connect, the details match, the excuses make logical sense. He cancelled the meeting because his brother had a medical emergency. The following week, he casually mentions how his brother is recovering. Months later, he comments on the scare that was that day in the hospital. The lie gains layers of reality that make it indistinguishable from the truth. But there is a pattern that you can identify if you pay attention. Emergencies always happen at the most inconvenient times for you. When you planned to introduce him to your friends, his mother got sick. When you suggested a weekend together, that project came up. When you wanted to meet his family, he got into conflict with his brother and needed time to resolve. He also uses a powerful psychological technique, reversing blame. When you question a contradiction in his story, he doesn't defend himself aggressively. He is hurt. How can you doubt him after all they've shared? He thought you had mutual trust. This distrust on your part is hurting the relationship. Suddenly, you who asked the legitimate question find yourself apologizing for having questioned. He turned his reasonable doubt into a defect of his, into insecurity, into a lack of emotional maturity, and you, wanting to prove that you trust him, stop asking exactly what he wanted. The difference between someone who occasionally has unforeseen events and someone who lives lying is in frequency and pattern. Everyone faces real emergencies. But when his emergencies are surgically precise to prevent you from advancing intimacy, to block moments that would reveal the truth, to keep you eternally at a distance from his real world, they are not coincidences. They are conscious strategies of a man who has a lot to hide and knows exactly how to make you believe anything. 4. You never know his world. Months go by, maybe years, and you still don't know anyone important in his life. She didn't meet her friends, she wasn't introduced to her family, she doesn't know where he really lives, she didn't have access to his social circle. You exist in an isolated bubble where only the two of you exist, with no witnesses, no connections to external reality. He always has reasons for this segregation. The family is complicated, and he doesn't want to expose you to that toxic environment. Friends are immature and wouldn't understand your relationship. He's in transition from home to the new apartment when he's tidy. These are excuses that in isolation seem reasonable, but together they form an insurmountable wall around his real life. What happens is that a married man cannot integrate you into his world because this world already has a protagonist, the wife. Friends know her, family lives with her, neighbors see them together. If he took you to any of these environments, someone would inevitably miss something about his wife, about his children, about his life that you don't know. So he creates encounters on neutral territory. You see yourself in restaurants far from his neighborhood, in hotels where no one knows you, in your house where he controls the environment. He never picks you up at home driving his own car because the license plate could be recognized. He never takes you to places he regularly goes with his family. Also, notice how he avoids appointments that would require his presence at important events. You don't go to his best friend's wedding. You don't get invited to his mother's birthday. You don't participate in work get-togethers. There is always a reason why that particular event is not appropriate to take you. Genuine relationships naturally expand. You know his friends, he knows yours. The families eventually meet. Lives intertwined because there is nothing to hide. Even more reserved people gradually integrate their partner into their social world. It is an organic process of increasing intimacy. When that doesn't happen, when months turn into years and you're still a closely guarded secret from anyone who really knows you, it's not about timing or circumstances, it's about impossibility. He can't integrate you because you don't fit into the life he already has. You are the extra, the secret appendage that needs to remain invisible so that the main structure does not crumble. And while you wait patiently for the right moment to finally get to know his world, that moment never comes. Because there is no right time. There is only one lie supported by your hope that eventually you will be important enough to be presented. But the truth is that you are already too important to be revealed without destroying everything. 5. The standard of business hours. His availability follows a strict and predictable schedule. He always appears at the same times, disappears at the same times, and any deviation from this routine is treated as impossible. You can predict exactly when he'll call you, when he'll answer messages, when he'll be available to meet. There's no spontaneity, there's no surprises, there's not that freedom of a genuine relationship where you talk to each other when you want. It is online and available during business hours. From 9 to 18 o'clock he responds quickly, seems present, shows interest. But when the end of the afternoon comes, something changes. The answers are spaced out. He stops responding in the middle of conversations, and after 20 o'clock, he simply disappears until the next day. Weekends are a total communication vacuum. You can send 10 messages on Saturday and receive a vague response on Monday morning. Holidays are even worse. Christmas, New Year, Easter, any important commemorative date turns into absolute silence on his part. He resurfaces later with excuses about how busy he was with his family, but he never invited you to be part of these celebrations. What you don't realize is that this rigid routine is not his choice. It is a necessity. During business hours, he is at work or at times when he is justified to be on his cell phone without arousing suspicion. He can tell his wife that he is solving professional matters, answering clients, dealing with urgent demands. The cell phone in his hands during the day is natural and expected. But when he comes home, when he's with his family, when his wife is there, he needs to be discreet. The cell phone is left aside, messages are not answered, and you become invisible. He can't risk his wife seeing a notification from you, reading a loving message, or noticing that he's talking to someone with suspicious frequency. Also notice how he never really calls you. All conversations are by text message because he can control them, delete them, hide them. A phone call is risky. His voice could be heard by someone. He could be caught in a situation where he can't explain why he's talking so intimately with a woman who isn't his wife. Real relationships have no schedule. You can text at 2 in the morning and receive a response. You talk at dawn without worry. He calls you spontaneously because he heard a song that reminded you of you. There is fluidity, freedom, absence of artificial restrictions. When the relationship works as a work schedule with fixed hours and scheduled unavailability, it is not about having a regulated routine. It's about him having a parallel life that takes care of all the time outside of that schedule he has reserved for you. And in this forbidden time, he is living as a husband, as a father, as a family man who cannot be interrupted by messages from his mistress. 6. Suspicious and calculated generosity. He is incredibly generous, but in specific and controlled ways. Buy expensive gifts, pay for dinners at high-end restaurants, solve your financial problems when you need them. But notice, this generosity never leaves a trace, never involves long-term commitments, never truly integrates you into his life permanently. Everything is paid in cash or in accounts that do not generate records linked to the two. He never uses a credit card when they are together because the bill goes to his house where his wife can see it. He gives you gifts that don't need to be explained, that don't appear on bank statements, that don't leave evidence of suspicious spending on another woman. His generosity works as compensation and control. He knows he's offering you a limited relationship, so he compensates with material resources. The expensive gift replaces his presence on your birthday. The fancy dining makes up for the fact that you spend every weekend alone. The money to solve your problem erases his guilt for not being able to be there when you really need him. This dynamic creates a powerful psychological confusion. You begin to associate his love with these material gestures. He must love you very much to be so generous, right? But true love manifests itself in presence, in availability, in real integration. Gifts should be complements, not replacements. Notice also what he never offers: commitments that would require you to assume publicly. He doesn't take you on trips where you could be seen together. He doesn't introduce you as a girlfriend to acquaintances. He doesn't make concrete future plans that would involve real changes in his life. Generosity exists only within the secret bubble that you occupy. Married men use material resources strategically. They know that women often interpret financial generosity as proof of genuine feelings. So they invest money in the parallel relationship as an emotional insurance policy. As you receive gifts and dinners, he breathes a sigh of relief because you seem satisfied and unlikely to question why you never move on to something more serious. The real test of a relationship isn't in what it buys you, it's in what he sacrifices for you. An expensive gift does not require real sacrifice when it has resources. What would require sacrifice would be to assume you publicly, to risk the stability of his double life, to choose you over the secure structure he maintains. And this sacrifice never happens Because in the end, you're not the priority that justifies risk. You are the emotional investment he keeps with gifts and promises, without ever putting at stake what really matters, his life where another woman is the wife everyone knows. 7. It keeps you in an emotional bubble. There is an emotional intensity to your encounters that feels special, unique, unlike anything you've ever experienced. When they are together, he is completely present, attentive, romantic. It tells you exactly what you need to hear, demonstrates a deep understanding of your feelings, makes you feel seen and valued in ways no one else could. But this intensity is not accidental. It is built. Married men who have parallel relationships know that they need to offer something that justifies all limitations. Then they create an emotional experience so powerful that you convince yourself that the restrictions are worth accepting. They turn each encounter into a special event because they know they are rare and need to sustain the illusion until the next. Notice how he is a master at creating perfect moments. He plans dates in romantic places, says profound words about your meaning, builds a narrative where your relationship is special precisely because it doesn't follow conventional patterns. It transforms limitations into unique characteristics. You don't see each other every day because your love is too intense to be diluted in your routine. This emotional bubble isolates you from reality. You stop questioning why you've never met anyone important in their life because the moments you share are so meaningful. You accept his absence on weekends because when you're together it's magical. You ignore all the red flags because the emotional connection seems to pay off. What you don't realize is that this intensity is unsustainable and artificial. Real relationships have ups and downs, routine, ordinary moments. There are days when you fight for foolishness. There are days when you watch television without talking much. There are days when one is tired and the other bored. That's real intimacy. It is life shared with all its imperfections. When a relationship exists only in planned and limited moments, it's easy to maintain intensity. He arrives after days without seeing you, full of longing and energy. You enjoy every second because you know he'll be gone soon. There's no time for boredom, for prolonged conflicts, for the naked reality of living with another person. He keeps you trapped in that emotional bubble because he knows that if you step outside and look from the outside, you'll see the relationship for what it really is. Limited, secretive, convenient for him and frustrating for you. So he feeds the bubble constantly with beautiful words, romantic gestures, and vague promises of a future where things will be different. But the future never arrives. Because he can't let you get out of the bubble without losing control. The bubble is the space where fantasy survives, where you accept emotional crumbs disguised as a feast, where he maintains two lives without having to choose any. And as you breathe in that rarefied air of artificial emotional intensity, it returns home to where it has a full life you'll never know.